All right, so welcome, and we are going to start talking business analysis now. So please listen. For those of you who are asking, what is business analysis? How do I take my previous experience? How do I do this? How do I do that? Please, now is the time to just listen. All right, just listen. Take the next, 2 hours to just, you know, pay attention, and then we will be able to help you answer those questions. Now, in today's class, I'm going to be trying to, do a couple things. If we're not able to do all of these things, then we'll continue next week. Is that okay? I'm going to be helping you to see what business analysis is, what do business analysts do, how I can use what I have to do the transition or to make that transition. How can you use what you have to get what you want? Okay? Stakeholder management. And then I'm going to talk about the competencies of a BA if time permits us. So I'm going to do an introduction to business analysis, quick. Now, for those of you who have not had any experience with business analysis, so please listen. This is the time to pay rapt attention, because I'm going to take it from first principles. All right. Now, for those of you who have probably watched this on our YouTube channel or something, there is always joy in repetition, right? Repetition is the law of long and lasting impression. So please listen again, right? And then we're going to take it further than what you have seen online. Now, today I will start with the concept of change, because that is where I start for all of my trainings when it comes to business analysis. The aim is to help you see things from what you know. I'll take you from what you know and then move you to what you don't know. That is my aim today. So let's talk about the concept of change. Please observe the following set of slides quickly. Observe the following set of slides quickly. Now, I can tell you, for those of you who don't know who is in the picture, I can categorically tell you it's the same person. So don't be afraid. It's the same person. Please keep watching. I hope you're observing. Okay. Somebody said they can only see me. Now, if you're on your desktop, you will see 2 tabs. Zoom has changed the way, so you should be able to see my screen. Everyone should be able to see my screen. So if you can't see me, please check your tab, right? The tab for Zoom. You will see Michael's screen. Okay. Can you see that? So click on that. Click on Michael's screen, and then you'll be able to see my screen. Have you done that, Matthias? Can you see me? Can you see my screen now? Please, for those of you who are saying you can't see my screen, you need to do that. Otherwise, you'll see just me. You won't see my screen. All right? So please, Matthias, do that, and you should be able to see. Let me get the feedback that you are now able to see my screen, because it's very important to see my screen. So let me know if you are able to see my screen, Matthias. Is that okay? Okay. All right. In one word, I want you to tell me, what did you observe in one word? What did you observe in one word? What did you observe in one word? I want you to put it in the chat. In one word, what did you observe? Without using the word change. I don't want you to use the word change in one word, because I'm talking about the concept of change. Of course, you would you would know that I'm talking about change. Okay, in one word, some of the things you've seen here, what would you call them? Okay, so some people are calling it transformation, evolution, transformation, transition, transformation. I like that. Okay, so you're using different words to say the same thing. Evolution. Okay, so some of you are saying growth, transformation, upgrade, facelift, rebranding, metamorphosis, remodeling, innovation, reconstruction. Okay, all of these can be represented with one word called change. Okay, you can represent this with one word called change. Now, let's start here. You will agree with me that change is inevitable. How many of you agree with me that change is inevitable? How many of you agree with me? Please listen carefully, because I'm going to help you understand business analysis in a bit. But you have to follow me. You have to follow my, my explanations. All right. How many of you agree with me that change is inevitable? How many of you agree with me? If you agree with me, put 1 in the chat quickly. Let me see your engagement. Put 1 in the chat if you agree with me. All right, perfect. So change is inevitable, right? Because if you decide to not change, things around you are still going to change. If you decide not to change, things around you are still going to change. And at the end of the day, you might be backward. So change is inevitable, whether you like it or not. And every company around you, every company, they are driving change in one form or the other. And this is one of the reasons why I know that this industry is not going to fade out very soon. Is because companies, progressive companies, forward-thinking companies are always undergoing change. They are always driving change. Change in the form of digital transformation, change in the form of upgrades to their service, change in the form of launching a new service or product, change in the form of rebranding, policy development, organizational changes, process improvements, entering a new market, name it. They are always driving one form of change or the other. Now, let me help you understand change. Change will always occur in one of these two ways. Change will occur in one of these two ways. It will either be that you are creating something new or you are modifying something that already exists. I repeat, when it comes to change, it will happen in one of two ways. Either you are creating something new or you are modifying something that already exists. Now, let me put that in context for you. When you say you are creating something new, is within the context of the organization. Please bear that in mind. What do I mean by that? This is what I mean. So, for example, during COVID, some organizations were not online. They were not receiving payment online. The only way you can buy stuff from that organization is to go and walk in person. You go in person. And then when they place the embargo that, listen, you are no longer going to be having interactions, in person, most companies started building websites. They started building payment gateway. Now, the question is website new? No, website is not new. Is payment gateway new? No, payment gateway is not new. But for that organization that didn't have a website before, is a website new? Yes or no? For that organization that did not have a website before, is a website new? Yes or no? Guys? Hello? Yes or no? Is a website new? You can put that in the chat quickly for me. Yes, right? Good. So that shows you that when you create something new for an organization or you modify something that they already have, it can be considered as a change. Okay? It can be considered as a change. What inspires change? Do people just wake up and say they want to change? Is that what happens? An organization will just wake up and say, we have nothing doing. We just want to, build a new product, or we just want to do this. No, they don't do that. What inspires that change? What initiates that change? Of course, Quadri, thank you. It is called a need. A need is what inspires or triggers a change. Please stick with me here because I'm going somewhere with this. Now, what is a need? A need is either a problem you are trying to solve or an opportunity you are trying to cultivate. Needs are not always problems. Sometimes an organization may see a new market that needs to be cultivated, and they will begin to put together a project that helps them to cultivate that market. So need is not always problem. Sometimes it is an opportunity that they want to cultivate. But whether it's a problem or an opportunity, this is what significantly triggers the change that will occur, or the change that will give birth to the project that you as a BA will be working on. Now, the question is, are all changes successful? I think that is a rhetoric. It's a rhetorical question because the answer to that question is no. Not all changes are successful. Not all changes are successful, but that's not what we want. We want to make sure that the changes that we are involved in are successful or is successful. All right. So when is a change successful? When can we say a change is successful? We can say that a change is successful when it delivers value, when it delivers the intended benefit. For example, if I was not making sales and I decided to put one or two things together, I decided to put some processes together, I decided to put new processes or change my sales system or my sales funnel, and it helps me, brings me 15% increase in sales, I would have said that my change is now what? Successful, because it has delivered the intended benefit that I was looking for. Because the purpose for which I decided to undergo that change of process, was so that I can get more sales. And at the end of the day, after 3 months, I discovered that my sales have skyrocketed. I now have 15% more sales, 20% more sales, 30% more sales. Now I can say that my change has been successful. Now, I want you to look at this picture in front of you. Will you say that this change is successful? Will you say that this was a successful change, and why? Will you say that this was a successful change? Look at it carefully. Look at how the customer explained it. Look at how the project leader understood it. Look at how the engineer designed it. Look at how the programmer wrote it. Look at how the sales executive described it. Look at how the project was documented. Look at how the operations installed it. Look at how the customer was billed. Look at how the help desk supported it. But ladies and gentlemen, look at what the customer really needed. Look at what the customer really needed. So even the customer was not able to articulate what he wanted. So meaning that even if we had done what the customer told us here, it will still not have met the need of the customer. And this is one of the reasons why a BA will be needed in organizations that want to carry out change, because somebody needs to chaperone that change. Somebody needs to govern that change. Somebody needs to ensure that the right thing is being implemented and the parties involved are satisfied. Now, that may begin to look like something you've done in the past, of course. And I'll help you see that. So you can see that the change is being carried out within the context of a project. You can see that different people are involved. The project leader is involved. The engineer is involved. Programmer is involved. Sales executive is involved. But they are all hearing different things. Same change, but they are all hearing different things. So when you look at change in the context of business, change in a business context, from what we've seen here, you can tell that a change will typically involve different parties. Like you can see here in this picture. Probably that's the project manager there, smiling at the marketing executive and this sales guy. And then maybe the designer, or maybe the stakeholder, the business representative. Whenever you are carrying out a change, different parties will be involved. That's the first thing you must understand. And these parties, these people that are involved in that change, they need to be aligned. They need to be aligned on the change. They need to be aligned on the solution. They need to be aligned on the approach. They need to be aligned on all the other ingredients that mold the change. The question then becomes, so they will be aligned. Okay, so these parties will be involved in the change. The parties will come together on what is called a project. So that change that you are trying to execute will be executed through the vehicle of a project. Project is a sequence of events or sequence of tasks or sequence of activities that must be completed within a certain time to be able to give an outcome. Of course, the outcome is what you refer to as the change. Bearing this in mind, my question is, who will help these different parties to align on the components of the change so that they are not acting like what you saw in this picture, where everybody is seeing different things, understanding different things, knowing different things on the same project? Who is going to be that person responsible for making sure that everybody who will be coming on the project, who is on the project, okay, or anybody who will ever come on the project, can align on the process, can align on the opportunity, can align on the need, on the solution, on what is changing, the steps involved, what we should do now, the pain point, what we should do later, the features, the problem, the product, the difficulties, what should remain, what should go. Who is that person who is going to align these different parties on all the components of the change? Of course, your guess is as good as mine. That person is no other person but the business analyst. So let's drive this a bit further so that I can help you understand business analysis. That was just me helping you understand the concept of change, which is very critical to you understanding business analysis. So what I did there was to help you formally introduce you to the central theme of what you do as a BA, which is the enablement of change. All right. I helped you to see what change is about. That change is about creating something new or modifying something that already exists. And you can't have a change except it's triggered by a need. And once this change is happening, it's going to happen through the vehicle of a project. This project is going to involve people. You're going to work with people, and you're going to get these people to be aligned on what the change is, on several elements of that change. Now, let's go into the textbook and see a proper definition of business analysis. According to the IIBA Bible Guide, IIBA stands for International Institute of Business Analysts. BABOK stands for Business Analysis Book of Knowledge. Okay, according to the BABOK Guide 3.0, business analysis is defined as the practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. Now, if you've never heard about business analysis before, if you do not know anything about business analysis, this is your first time coming in contact with business analysis, I want you to give me the next 20 minutes. Pay rapt attention, because I'm about to take this definition and I'm about to, unpack the definition so you can see, okay, even beyond this simplicity, how simple business analysis is. Now, this definition is straightforward. It's simple, but I want to make it even simpler, which is the aim, and which is what we aim to do here, especially for those of you who are coming with no experience. It will be important for you to be able to understand things from first principles. So let's go. Now, I'm going to underline certain words, which will help me to explain business analysis better to you today. Business analysis is the practice of enabling change, underline change, in an enterprise, underline enterprise, by defining needs, underline needs, recommending solutions, underline solutions, that deliver value to stakeholders, underline value and underline stakeholders. Now, let's go. I had just told you that change means something new or modifying something that already exists. Now, if you take this and you substitute it in this definition, what you will get is that business analysis is the practice of enabling something new or modifying something that already exists. So it means that everything you're going to do as a business analyst will be revolved around creating something new or modifying something that already exists. There is nothing that you will do as a BA that will not fall under this. It's either you are trying to create something new or you're trying to modify something that already exists. So all the activities you're going to do will be geared towards this. If you're trying to read certain data patterns to get insights, it will be geared towards what can we do to improve. If you're going to, change the process that you guys already have in an organization, it will be geared towards, are we creating a new process or are we modifying the one that already exists? So all you're going to do will be change, but this change will be creating something new or modifying something that already exists. Let's move on. And it says, you are going to be doing this change or carrying out this change in an enterprise. Big grammar. What is enterprise? Enterprise is organization or group of organizations. The question is, what makes up an organization? What is the core of an organization? When will you say that an organization exists? An organization exists because they have products or services that they sell or they give, okay, or they market. They have processes, they have people, they have policies, they have technology, they have other subsets of that organization that holds the organization strong. So these things are what really make up the organization. Take these things out, you don't have an organization. Do you agree with me? If you take these things out that I've just shown you now, product, process, people, policy, technology, if you take these things out, then the organization ceases to exist. So it simply means that if you are a business analyst that is carrying out change and enabling change in an organization to make things clear so that we don't just throw words at you, what they are simply saying is this: when you become a BA, what you are going to be doing is either you are going to be creating a new product or you will be modifying the product they already have. It's either you will be creating a new process or you will be modifying the process that they already have. It's either you will be creating a new people or modifying the people they already have. Now, in your mind, you are saying, how do I do that? How do I modify people? How do I create new people? Remember that people are categorically the information that they have. So, for example, what's the difference between you, who is earning $1,000 a month, or $2,000 a month, and somebody who is earning $50,000 a month? Is the information that you have. So business analysts will be disseminating information in the form of training or training manuals to people in an organization. Why? Because they will be involved in certain changes in the way people work. They'll be changing processes, they'll be changing products, they'll be modifying policies. So it's important that they train people and give them information so that they are able to, carry out their new functionalities with that product or with that process. So when you talk about new people or modifying the people that are already there, a business analyst is also involved in training. So you have to note that. So we are not saying you are going to be like God, creating new people and breathing life into them. No, that's not what we mean here. What I mean here by creating new people and modifying the people that are already there is giving them information they don't already have. Does that make sense? So as a BA, you'll be enabling change. Change is creating something new or modifying something that already exists in an organization, in their products, in their process, in their people, in their policies, in their technology, or any other subset that they deem fit in that organization. So if you put that into the definition, you begin to understand exactly what this is. That business analysis is the practice of enabling something new, like a product, or modifying something that already exists, like their process, or like their policy, or like their technology. But it doesn't end there. It doesn't start there. By defining needs. So the first thing that the BA is going to do is to define the need. Why are we doing this? What opportunity are we trying to cultivate? What problem are we trying to solve? So that is the first thing a BA does. So it means that as a BA, you are going to be implementing or enabling something new, like a new process, a new product, a new policy, but you need to first understand the pain point. You first need to understand the problem. It's like somebody who comes to do a work in your house, like a plumber. I use this example all the time. It's classic, right? A plumber comes to your house and he wants to work on your washroom because you gave the plumber a call. When the plumber comes to your house, he's not just going to dash into the washroom and start tinkering with stuff. He's going to ask you questions. He's going to try and understand what the need is. He's going to try and understand what the problem is. Is the problem from your sink? Is the problem from your washroom? Is the problem from your bathtub? Is it your faucet? Is it the flush? It's not, things are not going down the drain. It's first going to understand exactly what the problem is. And that is what a BA does. A BA will gather information, will collect information, will try to understand the need. Okay, we'll be working with people. Now, you don't need to be the subject matter expert. You don't need to come here, and it's one of the videos I'm going to be playing for you later today. You don't need to come here as somebody who knows everything. You just need to come and ask the right questions. That's what you are saying here. Because you need to understand the need that they're trying to solve. Gather as much information as possible. Sometimes you have to do a research. Sometimes you have to put people in a room and ask them, what do you want? Can you imagine? What do you want? I call it ameborism. You are doing amebo. Okay, for those of you who don't know what amebo is, you just check the Oxford Dictionary, page 957. You'll find the definition there. All right, I'm joking. Amebo means you're a gossip. That's what it means. Like you're asking questions, you are poking your nose into people's affair. That is what it means to be an amebo. So you are basically doing the job of an amebo, but this time around, you're not doing it for free. You're not wasting your saliva, you're getting paid for it. So that is what you will do. And in the process of collecting all of this information, you begin to work with teammates and team members that together you guys can brainstorm strategies. Together you guys can brainstorm solutions that will deliver value to the stakeholders. What do we mean by solution? You come up with an approach. You come up with a design, like what I just showed you, like some of the ones that I showed you here. You come up, now you're not the one to do this. You're going to work with people. You're going to tell them, oh, we want people to be able to scan their boarding pass because that is what they told you. Remember, you are the middleman. That is what the business told you that they want. They want people to scan their boarding pass and be able to access the app, and then they can store the details of their boarding pass. Now, you heard that from the business. Now, you're going to document that and pass it on to the person who is going to do it. Now, if the person who is going to do it has a problem, they can also use you as the middleman, ask you questions, and then you can take it back. So you are like the middleman that is translating information from business to technical. You're not the one necessarily building this. This is not your job. Your job is to tell them what you want or what the business wants because you've gathered enough information from the business. You've done enough ameborism from the business. In fact, let me put something here. It may be a bit premature, but let me say it. So you're going to put together, requirements from all this information you are gathering from different sources. You're going to put together requirements, and there is a way to put together those requirements. Those are part of the things that we will be training you on. Okay? Those are part of the things that you'll be paying. So sometimes it could be on a high level, okay? That this is what we want, this is what we want, this is what we want. And sometimes you will have to define the requirements, something like this. So look at this. Users should be able to do this. Is because that is what they said, right? That's what they told you. Users should be able to do this. Users should be able to see this. They should be able to see this on the About Us page. They should be able to see the values. They should be able to see all of these things. And now you take that and you give it to the designer. The designer will look at this and say, okay, they want this, they want this, they want this, they want this, and then interpret it as this. Because they were looking for brand story, right? So users should be able to view brand story. Now you can see the brand story. Oh, user should be able to see the TSG values, achievements, awards, and recognition. Okay, that is it here. So you will gather the information and ensure that information is accurately taken to those who can now translate that information into an approach, change that information into a design, change that information into a technology. So for those of you asking, do I need to be techie? Do I need to be a techie person? No, you're not the implementer of that technology. So why do you need to code? You don't need to code. You need to tell the person who is going to code what to do, what you need, what the business is looking for, because of the information you have gathered. So now you are a walking compendium of the information needed to make that project a success. You're a walking compendium. And that solution can be in form of features, can be in form of steps in the process. So basically, business analysis is the practice of enabling something new or modifying something that already exists in a product, in a process, in policies, in technology, by first defining the need, which is the problem, the pain points, the opportunities that the business is looking to cultivate, and then by reason of the fact that you've collected this information, you're spoken with people, you're organizing these brainstorm sessions, you're, getting as much information as possible, you can now begin to recommend features, recommend design, recommend steps in the process and approach. Remember, this is not something you do by yourself. You do it in conjunction with the people working on your team. And I've shown you that typically when a change is to be carried out, especially within the context of business analysis, it will be carried out through the vehicle of a project, and you have people you're working with. For example, I have had to work in marketing projects. Am I a marketer? No, but I worked with somebody from the marketing team because I tried to understand the problem that they had in the marketing team. And then we brainstorm it together. I try to know what they do currently. How do they do it currently? You see, these are some of the questions you will need to ask. And these are some of the things we'll be teaching throughout the 10 weeks. All right. So at the end of the day, all of this for what? All of this for what? Is because we want to deliver value. Remember, I said that not all changes are successful. The ones that are successful are the ones that deliver the value. For example, if the reason why I constituted this project, if the reason why I'm spending $250,000 on this project is so that I can have increased sales, and then at the end of the project, we do not have increased sales, then I have not met my value. Then I have not been able to deliver benefit. The reason why a BA is involved in this change is so that at the end of the day, 6 months post-implementation, 2 months post-implementation, 1 month post-implementation, I can begin to see the benefits. I can begin to see the value that the stakeholders demanded. So when you put this in here, you will see that all that you've done, everything you're doing within the context of business analysis is to be able to deliver benefits for that business, benefits to the stakeholders. And who is the stakeholder? Everybody and anybody that is affected or that affects the project is a stakeholder. So put it simply, that business analysis is the practice of enabling something new or modifying something that already exists, either in a product, in a process, in policy, in their technology, in people, by defining the problem they have, the opportunities they need to cultivate, the pain points, and so on. And then by reason of the ameborial activities or collecting information or relating with the people on the project, you can now begin to suggest or recommend features, steps in the process, design, approach that will deliver benefits post-implementation to everybody or anybody that is affected or that affects the project. That, my friends, is the summary of business analysis. How simple can that be? If you understand what I've said so far, please put yes in the chat. And if you do have a question at this point, please also throw your question in the chat, or you raise your hand and I will be more than willing to help you answer that question. So we're about to move to the next step now. We're about to move to the next step. So in conclusion, what I'm saying to you is this: business analysis has more than one element. In what I have said, you can see that there is this part called the need assessment, where the BA will go and be asking questions. He wants to know what is happening now, what they need. It's like the plumber asking, what is wrong in your washroom? Okay, what do you want me to do? These are the things that I can do. Oh, this one will cost you $10. This one will cost you $20. You see, he will give them options. We call it options analysis, okay? In business analysis, we call it options analysis. If you go for A, this is the pro, this is the con. If you go for B, this is the pro and this is the con. It's a part of the work that a BA will do. Tell me how difficult that is. They will give you options. Okay, you want to implement a payment gateway. Oh, there are 3 payment gateways: Stripe, Global Payments, and XYZ Payments. Okay, these are the things that students do. These are the things that people do at their workplace. Okay, so you'll be looking at needs assessment, trying to understand what they do currently, how they do it, the problems they are facing. And trust me, you didn't come with this from your house. So you have to go and ask the people that have the problem. You need to go and ask them questions. You that ask questions all the time, how is this a difficult thing? Especially when they are paying you to go and ask the questions. Just go and collect information. Secondly, stakeholder engagement. You will be involved in engaging stakeholders. Okay, you identify who they are, those people that have some level of interest in the project, and then you will learn how to collaborate with them, which is what we're going to be talking about at some point today. Also, you'll be doing requirement elicitation. It's the same thing as requirement gathering. You'll be gathering information, and not just gathering that information, you'll be confirming that the information you've gathered is solid. It's the solid information you've gathered, substantial information needed for that project. And then you'll be doing requirement analysis, which is part of strategy, right? You're thinking, okay, so how do we go from here? Now that I know that this is what they want, how do we go from here? So in that process, you will need to, sit with other people, brainstorm. You need to further understand what the problem is. You need to further understand what the way out is. That's not a one man's job. That's a job you do with other people, especially with people that have an understanding in that thing. So at the end of the day, you'll be breaking down the information that you collected, synthesizing that information, clarifying that information to further understand it. It's like your son that comes back from school and then his uniform is torn. Nobody gave you a call during the break. Nobody gave you a call, and he just comes back, and you're like, oh, hold on, come here. What happened? Now you're beginning to quiz, right? You're beginning to ask questions. What happened? Listen, this is what we do in our everyday life. And this is why business analysis is kind of intertwined with our daily things, with the things we do daily. Business analysis is intertwined with the things we do daily. We are the only ones who do not see it that way. So you're asking this little boy with torn uniform, what happened? It is Matthias. It is Taye. It's Kenneth. He punched me. He just punched. You mean just a punch is what tore your t-shirt? I punched my own back. You punch your own back? Are you sure you're the one who? Are you sure he's the one who punched you first? Okay, so what then happened? And then he was dragging my shirt, and then his sister joined, and then, are you sure this is the right information? Now you've collected as much information that you want to, but you want to dig further into this thing because you know this your child. He does not hit somebody. He does not hit somebody first. So you're curious. Or maybe the school called you and told you that he was the one who hit somebody first. And you're like, no, it's not my child. Ah, no, 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 no. It must be because there is a white school and my son is a black boy. They're trying to pin this on him. You see? So you're going back, you want to go and strategic, you want to analyze that information. Okay, now you are in front of the principal. Okay, can you talk? What happened? I was told, so the principal is telling me, I was told your boy hit the other boy first and things like, and then you turn to your son and said, I don't think that's possible. Did you hit him first? No, mommy, I did not hit him first. Daddy, I did not hit him first. You see, the boy said he didn't hit him first. You see, so you try and do and dig deep into the matter, and a business analyst is doing that kind of work. And at the end of the day, he can, get to the point where he is sure of the information he's receiving, and then he can document it for reference. So that if there's a new person coming to that project tomorrow, if there's a new person that is going to be coming to that project tomorrow, he can actually use that information. Are you getting me? He can actually use that information. In fact, I want to see if I can get an example of a documentation that our students have produced on some of these projects, right? I want to see if I can get some information like that. So let me share this. Let me share this with you so that you can see an example of what I'm talking about. So, for example, we wanted to create an application where, we know that some people travel alone, but they will always need a companion. They want to travel with a companion. They want to travel and do Dirty December with somebody. Maybe they are alone. They would have loved to have a travel companion. So we decided to create an application. Okay. We had one of those projects that came to we decided to create an application to solve that problem, right? Now, as part of that, the students needed to do different things, like look at who is doing that, the competitors. They tried to they made certain recommendations based on the information that they've received, and then they started doing some feature analysis. They did some requirement gathering. Now, you would think that the people who did this had done it before in their lives. No, it's just the training. It's part of the work. It's part of the practical work. So they collect that information, and by reason of that information, they are now beginning to understand a lot of things. They understand the problem. Remember, everything starts with a problem. Many travelers face challenges in finding compatible travel companions with similar interests, okay, and travel plans, leading to feelings of isolation, safety concerns, and missed opportunities for shared experiences. So they did a survey. Can you see? This is their survey link for Travel Together. They did a survey. They collected information. They saw all the information. Based on this information, they will now begin. These are all students work like you. They didn't come with an experience before. And then they carried out all this survey, and because they want to know, is this really a problem that people face? Can we solve this problem? Okay. They wanted to know that. So they put all of that together, put together the product vision, the objectives, the target audience, value proposition. There are things called personas. They did it as part of their work. And then they went ahead to start putting down the requirements for this. At the end of the day, they were able to now pass that information to somebody called the designer, who is going to put all of that together. Now, let me show you Travel Together. And this done by students like you who had no prior, and then it comes in here, and all that work done in how many weeks of gathering information, that ameborism that I was telling you about. At the end of the day, they were now able to now put that into this, which is what, put that into this travel companion here. It's what we call a splash screen. Let me see if I can prototype it for you. So all that now, give me a minute. Give me a minute. So they were able to condense it into this application. All right. Tell the designer that this is what we're looking for. Okay. So now they said, oh, for somebody to sign up, they have to provide this, and that. It was put in their, they put it here in their requirements, that for somebody to sign up, okay, let me go in there. So you can see where they are comparing, the other applications, doing comparative, competitor analysis. All right. They look at the different types, because this will help them to know how they want to build their own application. Can you see that? All these from scratch, right? And these are the things you'll be doing in a typical, you can see the user profile, you can see all these other things here, and then they prioritize the requirements. They prioritize they even know what the roadmap is. For those of you, the roadmap, what's the roadmap to building this thing? Okay, so they gave that requirement over, and now we have the app. So you can go in, log in, set up your profile. If you forgot your password, you can set up a new password. You can access your location. Congratulations, you accept the terms and services. You go in, because this is what they collected. These are the informations that they received. And now, as part of that information, they said, oh, we want to be able to see the popular destination. We want to be able to see the recommended, any recommendations that we have based on our interest. All right. We want to be able to read certain articles, see popular destinations, be able to add it to our itinerary, okay? That we can add it to our itinerary, create a new itinerary, put the title of that. All these things are things that you will be able to put. You can set up your itinerary and add, your details. Okay, day one, this is what I'm going, and you can share it with your friends that will be going on the same trip with you from day one to day three. All these things. How did you come about this information? By asking them, what do you want? And then you can see the profile of somebody you want to, probably you can see where they come from. You've sent a request to them because probably they are going to the same destination as you. All these built. You see, you can do all these things. You're looking for a travel buddy. You can set your preferences. Okay, I need a travel buddy that's into yoga. I need a travel buddy that's into architecture, into book clubs, into reading, into this, into that. Oh, they have a luxury lifestyle. Even if you are not doing luxury, you just want to meet somebody with a luxury lifestyle. You set the age. Okay, it's male, female. I don't have a preference. It could be anyone. Okay, if you're married, you probably don't want your spouse to go out with, you can put all of that here. All this was collected by people called BAs, and they would tell you how this solution should look like. And then they will now take it to our developers, and that was what Sneha was telling you about. Okay, so daily you'll be meeting with the developers, and then the developers will be telling you how they've made their progress, what progress they've made. If they missed the mark based on what you gave them, they will get back to you. All these are practical things you will do on the job. Requirement analysis and documentation. And then there will be traceability and monitoring, because over time, sometimes the requirement may change. So you may need to trace the changes, approve the changes, you see, so that they are working on the most up-to-date information. And then there is solution evaluation, validating a full solution or segment of that solution, okay, to be sure that this is what the business actually asked us to do, and if it is actually delivering the benefits that the business was looking for. So the next question you're going to be asking is, who is a BA, right? I think that question was already answered. But there's something I want to show you here from the textbook, from the IIBA Bible Guide, that says a business analyst is any person who performs business analysis task. Hold on. I didn't say that. This is not me. I didn't say that. It's the book that said that. The textbook said that. Of course, you can take the textbook to be an authority. If you don't take me to be an authority, you can take the textbook to be an authority. It says that a business analyst is any person who performs business analysis tasks, no matter their job title or organizational role. So it means that if you've ever driven change in an organization, if you've improved business process, if you've helped to launch a new product or service, if you've improved the current state of any product or service, for those of you asking, where do I get experience from? Please listen to this. If you've improved the current state of a product or service, if you've helped the business to maximize profit and save costs, if you've made the process more efficient, you've helped the business gain competitive advantage, you've recommended solutions to prevailing business problems, you've helped the business maximize opportunities by entering a new market. If you've done any of these things, you are a BA. The only thing is that you're still seeing your job as a trade finance officer. The only problem is that you're still looking at your job as an accountant. You have not moved your perspective. And for those of you who attended your sessions for the skill transition, we were able to take different people from different jobs. Can you see? Like this one from a facility manager. He told us what he was doing, and we were able to map that skill and map the different projects. And they said, yes, we agree with this. You can see, because once you're able to talk about the problem, the solution, the things you do as a BA, and the benefits you give to that organization, listen, you're on your way to getting a job, because this is what they want to see. Support analyst. We had people as support analyst, platform store manager. I think that was Abiola. Okay, gave his job description and we put it in, and it gave us the same thing. It gave us and when they look into these things, they can see, oh, now I can see the things I've done in the past is actually, actually fits. So these are some of the things we're going to be doing for you when you come for your CV. Because listen, how do you show experience for something you're just transitioning into? I think I mentioned that on the call for those of you who joined the experience mapping class, the skill mapping class. I mentioned that. How do you gain experience? There are three ways to gain experience. Either you work on a project like what we are giving you, like this one, okay? You work on a project, or you use your previous experience. That's number two, which is what I'm showing you with the mapping. Or you cook up a lie. So which one do you want to do? You want to go and lie? You want to go and cook up a lie? When they now begin to throw you into the places where your lie do not cover, you begin to stammer. So the two options that you have is to use your previous experience, which I have been able to show you that every organization undergoes change. There's no way you'll be in an organization for 5 years, you will not say that there was a change that happened, that you will no change occurred in this organization. Then it was a backward organization. You should leave. So we were able for the whole of January, we were looking at different people credit analyst at a bank. This person said, yes, this thing is real. The manual process of evaluating loan applications was time-consuming and prone to human errors, leading to delays in approvals and customer dissatisfaction. He said, this is my job. That is what happened. The person actually said it on the call. He said, this one actually happened. Well, but his name is what? But what is his title? Credit analyst. But we are saying that if you've ever, I'm not the one even saying it, if you've ever done any task as a BA, then you are a BA, even without the title. So it means that you can already position yourself with experience without it, even when you don't have experience. I don't know if you get me. So what you are coming into the 10 weeks for is for us to be able to now package that experience properly. Because you have an experience, you just need to be able to see it, not as a credit analyst, not as a support analyst, not as a banker, not as a teller, not as a facility manager, but as a business analyst. Your perspective needs to shift. And that is what this training is about. So for that person who was asking, hey, I don't have experience now. I have never had this thing. Okay, so what did you have experience in? Was that company a progressive company that was headed towards a change? Did you witness such? Can you talk about it? Then let's talk about it. That is a BA experience. So I always say it's one of those, remember those 3 criteria: ease of experience, ease of entry, and the ease of learning. These are the 3 things you want to look at, especially if you want to transition to a new career. And business analysis ticks all those 3 boxes. So if you've ever done any of these things, okay, any of these things, you're a BA. You can begin to give yourself a score. If you've done 1, you write 1/9. 2, you write 2/9. 3, even if you've done 0, of what I put in front of you, there's still many more. If you've done 0, don't worry, we have experience that we can give you. Somebody is saying, how does this that I've explained align to somebody in the health field? And that is why we said you should come for a mapping session, because I can't give you everything here. It aligns. Is there no changes that occurred in the health field? Let me look for somebody who was in the health field. We had a few people that came from the health sector. Let me see if I can find them. If I can't find them, then you have to book a session, and then we can tell you what that is. We're doing this for free in January. This is a health, safety, and environmental officer in the oil and gas. And we were able to see some of the things that were the challenges facing that organization. So this is industry agnostic. All right. Hopefully I'm able to see, because I know we had somebody, this is somebody from a sales and marketing background from the pharmaceutical company. Okay. Quality assurance in the cannabis. Trying to see, there's some all the way to the bottom. Okay. So you have to book that. I can't start going individual, because if I go for you, then I have to go for somebody else. But then it's up to you to believe whether this is possible with you or not. But even if it is not, then there is the opportunity to work on a project to gain that experience to be able to make the needed transition. I have to move, I have to make progress here. I hope that is clear with you. Father care. All right, roles and responsibilities of a business analyst. So from all that we've said so far, you would see that a business analyst, number 1, there's something I did not really mention that much, but the business analyst will be typically responsible for example, justifying the need. Okay, justifying the need. In some cases, a BA would be required to justify the need. Okay, to justify the need, meaning that you need to help us justify whether we should put money in this thing or not. It's what we call the business case. Okay, we'll be learning that in module 3. Okay, you'll be defining the need, both current and future state. You'll be managing stakeholders. You'll be facilitating meetings. You'll be gathering requirements. You'll be questioning and challenging requirements, because sometimes it's not everything that they're asking you to do that you would just say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, you have to be intelligent about some of them, because some people do not even understand what they need. I showed it to you. You saw that picture, right? You saw that picture that I showed you, that the stakeholder needed something, but he was explaining something else. So that is why you are critical to this whole thing. You're very critical to this whole thing. So don't just take requirements hook, line, sinker because somebody told you this is what we want. You need to question it. I remember one time I was working on a project, and then this stakeholder comes to me and say, oh, would like us to build a feature where, the patients, because it was in the health sector where the patients are able to select two hospitals. And I'm like, we're only spending time trying to build the feature where they are in their primary clinic. They select their primary clinic. And you're asking us to build something where they select two clinics. The next question I asked him is, can you tell me the number of people in your customer database now that uses two clinics? Can you tell me how many people in your customer database uses two clinics? So he goes into his database and he says 5,000, about 5,000. Now you would think that 5,000 makes sense, right? But guess what? That is 5,000 out of 1 million plus customers. This is a huge farmer. This is a huge company. A huge, if I mention the name, you will know it. A huge company. So they told us 5,000. So you want me to leave what I'm doing? Sorry. So you want me to leave what I am doing and build a feature for 5,000 people, whereas I'm building something that more than 900,000 people will benefit from. So can you see that? So sometimes they will come and ask things that you think make sense. But if you don't look critically and challenge it, they will not know. So when he looked at it and he was like, oh, that's true. He now said, okay, you know what? You can leave it. You can leave it. You can do it later. Because somebody who is not trained properly will think that everything they tell me is what I will do. Mm-mm. You need to understand if that is part of, if that is even going to bring benefit to them. Why should I spend so much dollars trying to build something that people are not going to use? That's part of your training. It's part of the work you will do. So you will question requirements, you challenge requirements as needed, you confirm requirements because you don't want people implementing the wrong stuff. You confirm requirements. Oh, I remember one time, and it's because requirements are always changing. Sometimes requirements are changing. You will need to track those changes. I remember when we were building AfroShop, and then we went back to the stores, and then there were different stores telling us that we like this thing, oh, but it will be better because people want to know whether they can get Congolese things from my store. They want to know whether they can have. So when we got that feedback, guess what? We had to come back and change the requirement because that feedback resonated with everybody in that industry. All the, African stores were telling us this. So we came back. I'll show you. We came back and then we had to change the requirements. We now had to put the flags and the country. You see how those little information can change your car? And this is your job as a BA. You now bring that back, that information we gathered. This is 1.1. This is 1.0. Let me show you 1.0. Do you see in 1.0 it was not there? In 1.0, it's not there. In 1.0. But in 1.1, because we collected a new set of information, we were able to add that in. And these are the kind of things you'll be doing. We collected information as to what do they want to see? What do they actually want to see on their dashboard? Do they want to see how much they've made with the customers, the top weekly customers, different things here. So you'll be collecting information, sir, and documenting those information, communicating that information, those requirements, analyzing those requirements. You will help the team and stakeholders to understand the requirement. You will monitor and track the changes. You will test the solution to make sure it is working properly. And then you will also ensure and enable a successful change. So now you can see why this project failed. It's because they didn't have a BA. Because Kenneth was not there. Bolaji was not there. Esther was not there. Fei was not there. You see, Ezekiah was not there on this project as the BA. Oladuni was not there as the BA. That was why. Now, do you need to be a tech whiz? Of course, this question is very simple to answer. You do not need to be a tech whiz, knowing how to code HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all of that, API, Oracle. You don't need to know how to do all of that for you to be a BA. Now, while that is true, that a BA does not need to be technical, of course, we're going to teach you technology and BA. That's one of our modules where we're going to teach you some technological terminologies. You heard Snare talking about APIs, You heard her talking about webhooks and all of that. Yes, these are some of the things we're going to teach you because it's expected that you know some things, right? So those things we're going to teach you the basic stuff you need so that you can have good conversation at your workplace. Because there are certain conversations you're going to have at the workplace. The question is, will you be able to, you know, will you be able to understand and be carried along when those conversations are happening? So these are some of the things that you'll be taught in one of our modules called, in fact, it's the fifth module. It's called Technology and Design for Business Analysts. So while it is true that a BA does not need to be technical, all right, while it is true that the BA does not need to be technical, the BA needs to understand certain concepts. The BA needs to understand to use certain tools. The BA needs to be able to employ certain techniques. The BA needs to be able to deploy certain skills. The BA needs to be able to deliver certain artifacts to get the job done. And here, my friends, this training is about teaching you the concepts, helping you to know to use the tools, helping you to know how to employ those techniques, helping you to gain those skills and know what artifacts to produce to be able to get that job done as a BA. So the training, the 10 weeks, the practical sessions, and all of the things we're going to be doing will be geared towards these things. Now, as one of the first set of things that I ask you to do, because it's important that you begin to see who you want to become. Listen, I did more than 40. I did more than 40. This one I'm doing is just, it's good that you begin to see these job descriptions yourself. Okay, so that you will not say, I hear say, I heard somebody told me this. Go and look at it for yourself. Not somebody told me this. Study 40 job description of a BA. You don't have to do it before the next class. You can do it, from time to time when you are on the train, you're in the bus, when you have your free time. But make sure you start looking at job descriptions. Now, somebody told me once that he was looking at this job description and he could not understand it. Of course, you will not. It's like me going to go and look at a job description of a electrical engineer. I will not understand because I need to learn electrical engineering for me to be able to. Now, the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because from what we even said today, you can already begin to recognize some of the things in the job descriptions from what we will be saying in today's class alone. And then as time begins to go, you now begin to see how you are covering the uncharted parts. This will help your mentality. Trust me. Most people who do this exercise, they run faster. Because now you are beginning to put the things, you are showing that you're serious. You're beginning to put that in. You say, write the vision, put it plain. You see it in front of you. You know where you are headed. So please study 40 job descriptions of a BA. Note the similarities and the differences. How many of these job descriptions require certifications? Especially for those of you who are like, oh, they said that without certification, I cannot get a job. Let me shock you. Sneha, who just got a job, didn't get a certificate. She didn't have a certificate. 85% of the people on this platform that have gotten a job, and that's a lot of people, almost 200 in the past 4 years, right? That has gotten a job on this platform. 85%, I can tell you for sure, got a job without a certificate. And I have data to prove it. Data to prove it. Not just from myself, from data that is online data. So the question is, those people telling you that certification, you have to get it before you get a job. Where did they get that from? I can show you the data. If you demand it, I will show you. It's here. It's readily available. I'll show you the data. And that's why I'm asking you, go and check. Was the certification a nice to have? Was it a nice to have? Or did they say this is a must have? And how many of them said it's a must have? And what type of certification was required? Because listen, if you don't ask this question for yourself and by yourself and do the research by yourself, all you'll be hearing is hearsay. I hearsay. They told me. Enough of they told me. Tell yourself. Go and find the information out by yourself. Okay? All right. Task 2. Study 40 job product owner or analyst job description. Okay? No, note similarities and differences with business analysis job descriptions. Okay? How many of these job descriptions required certifications? Was the certification a nice to have or was it a must have? So remember that this training is both business analysis and product, right? So, how many of these job descriptions require certifications? Was the certification a nice to have? Was it a must have? And what type of certification was required? Now, stakeholder management. Now, somebody dropped something here on the chat. Probably he sent it to me. Let me read it. Sorry, before I continue, let me just read this. I don't know what this person is saying. Saying, how do you address a situation where, can you guys hear me? I think somebody dropped this. How do you address a situation where people who are not well versed in the online learning mode of learning may need help? I once joined a Utiva data. Please, okay, one of the things I tell people is do not mention other people's training here, please. If you're going to say something, just say it without mentioning people. I don't like talking about people's thing. Whatever they do in their place is what they do. So I'm not going to, sorry if I already mentioned the name. I didn't know. I'm not going to mention the name of the institution. I don't like talking down on people's things. I don't know what they work hard for their own thing. I do my own thing. They do their own thing. So I'm just going to read it without mentioning the name. I once joined a dash data analysis cohort and paid in full. Please, if you're going to say anything that involves another person's business, please don't mention the name. Okay? Just say I joined somewhere else, please. Okay? I don't talk down on people's stuff because they work hard also in their own way. If you don't like it, if they didn't give you value, they simply did not give you value. Give them their review. Okay? Okay. Very important. I don't need to know. I once joined a dash data analysis cohort and paid in full, but since I just migrated to Canada and was doing survival jobs, I couldn't concentrate much. Throughout the cohort, the focus seemed to be solely on students paying their fees with no follow-up on their progress. I even reached out to them, pointing out uh, that it was unacceptable not to check students who had been absent for 3 weeks, but they just brushed it off. So my question is, okay, so again, that is your experience with another set of people, right? You can either choose to trust us what we say or not choose to trust us. We have 221 five-star reviews. These are not robots that gave the reviews. All I can give you is my word, and my word is my bond. I can't go beyond that to show you anything extra. You have to be inside to, they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Whatever it is that you are submitting to me, I empathize with you. I'm sorry you went through that. Okay, you didn't get value for your money. That's fine. This is another institution, and we do what we are. You have to experience me to know me. You can't know me through another person's experience. It's like saying this is how your family functions because I live in another family. No, you have to live with my own family to know how my family functions, in spite of the fact that we, open our teeth, we smile online and all of that, right? You have to be in my family to know my family. Does that make sense? All right. So just want to be very clear about that. Somebody's saying, having listened to your class, this question comes to mind. Can you do justice to this? In a complex enterprise environment, you are tasked with designing a data integration solution between an on-premise ERP system and a cloud-based CRM. Given that the ERP uses an OLTP relational database and the CRM is a multi-tenant SaaS solution with RESTful APIs, how would you ensure data consistency? Are you giving us the project they gave you at work or what? Because you don't sound like an entrant into stuff. You're using big words like ERP, you're using big words like OLTP, you're using big words like CRM. I have to be able to take the people that are on this call who are entrants and bring them to the point where you are. Now, if you're looking for someone to help you with the project that you're working on, okay, like the approach to your project because you have a data transformation project, then reach out to me. It's a consultation session. It's a huge full project. I can't be answering this when I'm supposed to be teaching stakeholder management. Does that make sense? So Olubumi, what you've just thrown in here is a full project that everybody needs to be taken through. Like people on this call, some of them they don't even know what ERP is. So don't try to take the focus away. There's some things I do not answer on a call like this. And I don't think it does justice to the people on the call either. Okay? Okay? I don't think it does. And that's unfair. It's very unfair, Olubumi, to do that on this call because these are people that are just trying to learn the basics, you try to go, and then you bring in a full-fledged project or something they would get to know in 10 weeks. Doesn't make sense. How do you want me to start answering you here? If you brought your project to me here, bring it to a session, reach out to us. If you want a consultation, then we give a consultation. It's very unfair. You should apologize to the people on the call. Don't do that. Very unfair. Okay? All right. So I'll move on, please. No such distractions, please. You can't be bringing such things like rate limits. They don't even know what API is. For me to now start telling them API rate limit, it's a different conversation. Come on. Let's be civil, please. Okay? Let's be civil. The fact that we said it is free doesn't mean that we should misbehave. Okay? Please, let's be civil. All right, let's go. Stakeholder. Now, for those of you who read that, just ignore it. Okay, because some of these things you're gonna know what those things are. Like what's a RESTful API, what's an API? It's talking about GDPR. How does that concern us? Okay. All right, so stakeholder management. Let's go into stakeholder management. Now let me help you understand where we are now. Okay. So anybody that has question, it should be question concerning what we just taught you, what people are trying to learn. And that is how we teach here. You see, especially for those of you who've done some training before, even when you come to our training, you have to act like you've never done a training before. If you start asking me about, then it has to be separate from the class. You know why? Because there are people that are just trying to learn the ropes. So if you've done a training before and you think you want to do our training, you have to be considerate of the people who have not learned what you've learned, because they are going to get there. So if you now start throwing big bombshells, honestly, don't call it as I don't ignore people, but I will ignore such. You can have a separate conversation outside of that class. Does that make sense? So I'm telling those of you who want to come on the program, you have to be, you have to have a separate conversation if you need something different from what we are discussing in class, or something that is not relevant to that time and space. You see, like we just discussed about business analysis, I would expect that your questions would be around business analysis. Oh, for example, something like, what's the difference between business analysis and data analysis? That makes sense. You know why? Because I just told you about business analysis. So in your mind, you probably have heard about data analysis and you want to say, what is the difference between those two? That's a question that makes sense because it is relevant for for the topic at hand, right? Or, oh, there is this particular job description I saw 2 weeks ago because I asked you to look at job description. Oh, and I saw this and that. What is those kind of things? It relates to what we are teaching right now. Does that make sense? So please, let's be considerate. All right. So we've been able to handle the question of who is a business analyst, what is business analysis, and we've been able to unpack all of that. So for everybody on the call now, whether you are a new entrant or you're not a new entrant, you actually have an understanding of business analysis. True or false? If that is true, put yes in the chat. If you do have an understanding of business analysis as we speak now, put yes in the chat. Okay? Put yes in the chat. If you have an understanding of business analysis, put yes in the chat. Okay, Quinsley, you're saying that is actually the question I wanted to ask. Okay, so somebody said they would like to know the difference between product management, business analysis, data analysis. Okay, let's put it simply. So business analyst, let's start with the other ones because I've talked about business analyst. So let's talk about the data analyst, right? So from the word data analysis, the data analyst is strictly, looking into a wide array of data. So for example, a company has, several information coming from different inputs, okay? And then they want to know one or two things that the data is telling them. All right. So they will harvest this data. It could be raw, it could be unpolished. Okay, maybe data of people who made a payment or made several payments in 2023, or data of people who dropped off from a program, or data of, it could be anything. Okay. Sometimes these data it could be What kind of data can I put now? It could be any form of data, even data from social media. Okay, it could be data from social media. So basically, you will give that to a data analyst. The data analyst job will be to look into that data, try to make sure that that data is clean enough for him to be able to manipulate. You see, because he's going to manipulate the data. So he's going to manipulate the data using certain tools. For example, you would have heard of SQL, SQL. So SQL can help him to collect certain information from the database that he's looking for. All right. So he collects that information, he cleans up that information. Sometimes he may even need to visualize the information. Okay. Sometimes he may need to visualize that information. At the end of the day, what he's trying to do is to help those laymen, the business people, to see the information that they could not have seen by mere staring at the data. So he's going to present that information in a way that they can relate with. For example, he can visualize the data using Power BI. Okay. And based on that visualization, he's going to take that complex set of information. You can imagine information of 10,000 people, okay, of the different things that they did, and you're staring at it. And then this guy takes that information and then is able to show you in a graph. How simple is that? And then from there, you can now draw what we call insights, inferences. You can now say, oh, this is the reason why people didn't buy ice cream in December 2023. Oh, why did we have that peak there? Why did we have this here? So you can now begin to see things in the data, right? So that is what the data analyst does. Now, when you now take data analysis into the job market, you begin to see them from different perspectives, especially from how the recruiters have put this job out there. Now, a data analyst will be the same thing as a business intelligence analyst. Please listen to that, right? It's the same thing as a business intelligence analyst. Why? Because in business intelligence, they try to get certain information from the business, okay, and try to get an intel or intelligence from it. What does that mean? Information, okay? When you hear these CIA movies, you hear them say intel, intel. What does intel mean? It's information. So the business intelligence people get information from the business and try to make intelligence, intel. They try to get information out of that. They have try to get, inferences from that. And the best way to do it is through the data that they have. Okay, so business intelligence, data analysis is the same thing. All right. Now, when it comes to project management or project managers, from the word project management, they manage resources for that project. Now, when you talk about a project, what are the resources that a project would typically need? The resources that the project will typically need is number one, time resource. Time resource has to do with the timeline for that project. So a project manager will make sure that the work is done within the time frame that has been given for that job. Number two, people resource. The project manager will ensure that they have the right set of bodies and the right set of manpower, okay, the people that can get that job done within the time frame that has been given. Number three, we also have money resource, okay? Money resource is budget. The project manager is also responsible for budget, all right? For money, do we have enough to be able to see this project to the end? Sometimes, he would say, okay, this is everything we need to do on this project. This is going to cost this. This is how much we pay. There are 5 people on this project. The BA costs $10 per hour. This person costs $30 per hour. We need him 30 hours. So he's doing all of that work. He arranges the task and activities to fit that timeline, right? And the last thing, which is an overlap with the BA's job, is the scope. Is also going to manage the scope. Now, remember that the scope is a joint responsibility between the project manager and the BA. I'll tell you why. Because the BA is responsible for collecting requirements on the project. Is responsible for elucidating what this project is about. Imagine that the BA now begins to collect information from the stakeholder that is not in the scope. He may lead to scope creep. That is why he works hand in hand with the project manager in terms of ensuring that what they do sticks and stays within the confines and the boundary of the scope. So the project manager, simply speak, make sure that work is being done. However, from the context of scope, money, which is budget, time, and people. And then the product manager is a visionary. The product manager is the guy. Now, and I'm going to tell you a final thing when I say all of this. I will now bring everything together. And the product manager is a visionary. He's the one who, understands the market we are going to be playing in. He's the one who does the research for that market and ensures that we are delivering the right thing for the customer. Now, you may want to think that, oh, if that is what the product manager is doing, can't a BA do it? Can't a product owner do it? Of course, yes. In this day and age, we are beginning to see that happen. However, here is where the difference comes into play. Product management is not just about developing the right product for the right market and understanding what they need and all of that. Remember, it's fundamentally about products. But beyond just product development, he's into thinking through, how will this thing make profit? How are we going to retire this product? When this product is no longer doing well, what else can I do? So he's going to be involved in the product from beginning to the end. We call it 0 to 1, to when the product will die. Okay, we call it the decline. The product manager is involved in every single thing up until the pricing strategy, how we price the product. The product manager is involved in that. So that will reflect on is going to reflect on, in fact, let me show you something, because this is some of the things I'm going to be teaching you as part of. That's why I don't want to take too much time, because there's a lot to discuss today. But let me show you something on one of our slides, on one of our module. So I'm going to be teaching you about the product ownership module, but I'll be teaching you some product management as part of that. So these are some of the things you're going to learn also. So yeah, here's what I'm trying to say. So how a product is built is from the need, because everything ties into this thing called the need. What is needed? Who has the need? Where is it needed? When is it needed? Why is it needed? How do we satisfy the need? Now, all of those questions are the fundamental questions that the product manager will have to answer and has to bring solution to. So product, what is the need is the problem definition. Who has the need is the persona or the target market. Where is it needed is product marketing. When is it needed? Product roadmap and releases. Why is it needed is the visioning and the strategy. How do we satisfy the need is the product features and user journey. But guess what? The BA does not go beyond this, and this. So you begin to understand all of those things when I teach you and how it differs with the product owner. Does that make sense? So these are things that are still in our future, and of course we're going to answer, but just as a primer, okay, as a primer to, give me a minute. So as a primer, just to help you answer those questions now, okay, you know what a data analyst does, you know what a project manager does, you know what a product manager does. Of course, the product owner, let me now tell you about the product owner, which is an adjacent role to what a BA does. Okay, the product owner, according to Scrum, because product ownership is a field that came as a result of Scrum. However, it has grown beyond that, right? But if you want to look at product owner from the textbook definition of what they do, they are simply responsible for what we call the product backlog. Let me show you an example of that from one of our projects. Okay, so these are some of the things you're going to learn. Now, there's the product backlog. What is the product backlog? Remember when I said you're going to collect requirements as to what happens on a project, what are we going to put on a project, what are we going to build, and all of that. Now, all those things you're going to collect, you're going to be putting them down as items in a backlog. The backlog contains everything you want to do in that project, you see, so that everybody can see what it is that we want to do in that project. So that's what we call a backlog. Okay, all these things I'm going to teach about. So the product owner primarily is responsible for making sure that we are working on the right thing at the right time. So if payment card toggle for currencies is what is most important, or if error after registration is what is most important, he's going to move it to the top of this backlog. Now, according to Scrum, according to, if I go in here now, what I just did, some of you may be looking at this and saying, look at, it said that history, he said ranked higher. Can you see that? I just ranked it higher, meaning that it is now more important for us to do that. So a product owner is responsible for this backlog and making sure that we are doing what is most important for the organization at a particular time. He's bringing the value. We are building the most valuable thing right now. You see, that's what a product owner does. But here is the thing. But here is where I distill everything to you. The job market has changed. So these days, and please, you have to listen to me on this one. When you even see a product owner job, they are actually describing a product manager's job. When you see a product manager's job, now they are describing a product owner job. It could be very confusing. So this is what I tell the students. Learn all you need to learn. Understand what you need to understand from everything we're going to teach you. And do not be afraid to look at job descriptions. So that is why we prepare you for both product ownership, product management, and business analysis. So that when you are done with the training and with your product, you can look at the job descriptions for what they are, not for the title. Because if you are only gunning for titles, you will lose a lot of opportunities. And that is the difference there, guys. So beyond what I tell you now, with respect to this is product management, this is project management, this is data analysis, this is business analysis, when it is time to look for a job, you have to look at the job description. For example, my students have become product managers. How? Because we taught them some product management, we taught them the product life cycle. If you check those are the things we're going to teach you. Product life cycle, product strategy, product visioning, how to write a product vision, all those things we taught you, right? Why? These are the things that product managers are supposed to do. But guess what? They started putting it into product owner role. So we had no option but to teach it. But these are the things that product managers are supposed to do. But because now they are now putting it inside product owner role, what do you think we should do? We should evolve. If the market evolves, we evolve with it, irrespective of what the textbook says. So I can give you a textbook definition of what a data analyst is. I can give you a textbook definition. In fact, let me shock you. Do you know that we've had recently in the last cohort, November cohort, we had somebody who became a business data analyst. A business data analyst. Now, you would think that, oh, I can't do that job. But she looked at the job description and discovered that, wait, there's nothing too data about this thing. This is everything I know. And she applied for it. And guess what? She got a job in 4 weeks. So beyond what I tell you about the difference of business intelligence, product management, what's the difference between this, you will learn to look at the job descriptions for what they are. You see? And then go for it because you know what is there. And that is why some of our students, like I said, for those of you who came, I showed you some students who are product consultants. Some of them are solution consultants. Some of them are product managers, associate product managers, all right from the course. So you have to be careful about that. Is that okay? All right, let's go back into what we were looking at, and we go from there. So stakeholder management, I hope that has answered all your questions around that. Let's look at stakeholder management, and then we have a couple more minutes to go. So after stakeholder management, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back for the last set if we have the time. Otherwise, we're going to do that next week. All right, so stakeholder management. Who is a stakeholder? Let's start with that. Who is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is a group or individual with relationship to the change, the need, or the solution. So anybody or a group of people who has a relationship with the change, they have a relationship with the need, they have a relationship with the solution, we refer to them as the stakeholder. Now, that may even sound a bit complex, although it's simple. Now, what that simply means is that if you affect the project or the project affects you, you are a project, you are a project stakeholder. I repeat, if you affect the project or the project affects you, you are a project stakeholder. Let me break it down. It means that the developer who is going to be part of the success of this project is a stakeholder. It means that the customer whom we are building for is a stakeholder. It means that the business representative is a stakeholder. As long, even that compliance office, the compliance office, in that state. Remember, like for example, if you're doing a health project, you have to be compliant to certain rules or certain like PIPEDA, HIPAA, GDPR. These are all compliance rules, right? Now, if you do not, because if you do not build that project in such a way that it is compliant, they will throw you a huge fine. So it means that that compliance department in that government parastatal, you see, all right. Okay, somebody said they would chat with me privately. Okay, that's fine. You know, that government parastatal, all right, that compliance department is actually your stakeholder. You have to take them into consideration. So it's basically everything and everybody that you're taking into consideration while you're building this project. Now, what two categories of stakeholder are you going to find? Now, for those of you who start looking at job description, you begin to see the two categories of stakeholders that are involved in any project you're going to work on as a BA. There are two. The first is an internal stakeholder. The second will be the external stakeholder. So the internal stakeholder and the external stakeholder. Now, the internal stakeholder is anybody within your organization. The external stakeholders are anybody outside your organization. You see, internal stakeholder within your organization, external stakeholder outside of your organization. Now, there are three major steps when it comes to managing stakeholders. The first is you identifying the stakeholder. The second is you analyzing that stakeholder. And the third is you now, based on the identification and the analysis, you can now begin to engage that stakeholder. Let's talk about this quickly, and then we'll go to the last thing for today. Let's talk about identification. Now, please listen to this carefully. Because when you jump on a project as a BA, when you start your work as a BA, you're going to work with people. You will need to know the people you're working with. But this is not rocket science. It's simply what happens in our day-to-day life. So stakeholder identification is the first step in stakeholder management. Why? It aims to identify all organizations or all individuals who are directly or indirectly affected by the intended change, by the company's activities, or who have a specific interest in these activities. The result will be a list of stakeholders. But here is the thing. Don't take this literally. I'm going to explain. Now, these are some of the questions that you can use in identifying who a stakeholder is. For example, if you ask the question, who is internally affected by the change? If you have an answer, that answer means that they are part of your stakeholder group. Who is an important part of the project success? If you have an answer, if a developer, designer, they are part of your stakeholder. Which external individuals or groups are associated with the project? If you have an answer like suppliers, associations, and all of that, okay, they are part of your stakeholders. Now, what are the parameters of that project? Like legal parameters, compliance, and all of that. If you know the people behind the compliance and legal and stuff, they become part of your stakeholders. But let me mention something here before I go into analysis. Stakeholder identification do not always end in you writing a list of stakeholders. I repeat, stakeholder identification do not always end with you writing a list of stakeholders. And let me explain it simply this way. Now, how many of you have been in this situation where you went for a village meeting or a household meeting or an extended family meeting, and they introduced to you Chidimma, Chidora, Emeka, and some of these other members of your family you've never met before? And they said, this one is the daughter of your auntie's sister who is married to the one man in abroad. How many of you have you've been in that kind of meeting where they introduce you to, somebody you never knew was a part of your family? How many of you? Maybe I'm the only one who has that experience. How many of you now? How many of you have had that experience? where you were introduced to somebody who is a member of your family, but you never knew that this person was part of your extended family? Maybe I'm the only one who has had that experience. Nobody here. You've never had that experience where you've met somebody who was an external, completely, was part of your family, or is part of your family, but somebody say I have. Now, if you are posting stuff, can you post it to everybody? Because there is an opportunity for you to select everyone so that everyone can see what you're posting. No, don't just post it to host and panelists. Okay, because some people are posting it to me and everybody can see it. Like the rest of the people can't see what you're saying. Some people say I have. Okay. Some people are saying I have. All right, good. So you have done that, right? Now, my next question to you is, did you pick a notebook and a pen and started writing their names? Eh? Did you pick a notebook and a pen and you say, Emeka, wait, let me get a pen. Emeka's, did you do that? No, you didn't do that. So what happened? You just let it pass, right? And then as you continue to relate with these people, you begin to understand them as time goes on, right? It's the same thing that happens on a project, sir. When a project starts, there's what is called project brief. Before you start a project as a BA, they will give you what is called a brief. Now, in that brief, the project manager can call everybody in a meeting. In that meeting, they will introduce everybody, just like they introduced you to your, your extended family. They will introduce everybody in a meeting. They will say, this is the developer, this is the back-end person, this is the business representative, this is this person, this person. Now, you don't need to write anything down. You just need to observe. Now, over time, their engagement in the project will now know whom you should be close to, who you should be relating with every day, and whom you will not relate with every day. Over time, you will now know the people that you need to, interact with. So don't think that stakeholder identification has anything to do with writing a list. Yes, your project manager can do it, can write a list of stakeholders, but that does not mean that you have to write a list. I just wanted to make that point clear, that the identification is a mental note. When I say stakeholder identification, it is a mental note. So take note of that. The second one is also partly a mental note. It's called stakeholder analysis. What is stakeholder analysis? Stakeholder analysis, this is the grouping of the stakeholders that you have identified according to their levels of participation. Because not everybody will participate at the same level. Not everybody you will meet every day on that project. According to their level of interest. Not everybody has the same level of interest in that project. According to their level of influence, not everybody has the same level of influence on that project. There are some people that if they just sneeze like this, they can end that project because they sponsored it. There's a project that we are handling right now. They've not given us the money to go into development. How do we now start to develop the project? There's a project we are handling right now. We've not gotten it from the stakeholder, the person. So they can determine that that project is not moving. There's some people like that. There are some people that are very significant to a project that if they just, if you tell them the wrong things, they can cancel the project. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you need to understand. In fact, there are some people then, I remember when I was still a junior BA, there are some people that I wanted to send a message to. My supervisor would say, no, don't send to them. I will be the one to send it. Big man talk to big man. Yes. There are some people, your supervisor will say, don't send them emails. If you send them an email, copy me. It's not as if you can't do your job, but, they have to be sure that, because it depends, the whole thing depends on this communication. So when you talk about analysis of stakeholders, it is you being able to understand the level of participation that an individual or a group has in that project, their interest, their influence, and to determine how to now best involve them. Like I was telling you, how to best communicate with them. I was telling you, my supervisor one time was telling me, please don't send that message until you've copied me. Don't send that message until I've read it. Don't do this until, because there are some people that it has to be, the information is sensitive. You see, and determining how best to engage them, how best to involve them. Okay, these stakeholders throughout the project. Why is it important? Because you know who to enlist for help. You will know where to gain early alignment. You will know how to help address conflicts or issues early on in the process. Now, there are some of these things that, so let me now begin to break down a few things here. I know there's some people, you see things, you don't go with anybody can write anything online. You must know that. Does not mean that they are right. I repeat, because of the world that we live in now, anybody can write anything online. Okay? It does not mean that they are right. You can wake up today and decide to write things online. Does that mean you are an authority? So be careful what you read online. Don't take it hook, line, sinker just because you saw it online. Some of this information are not true. They're not verified. Some people are not even qualified to even give that information. Yes. They're not qualified to give that information. So be careful what you read online. Okay. Now, I said that to say this because, some people will go through training, and because they teach them power interest grid, now because they want to show that they've done something, they will go online and then they will now start to say, and then I did a power interest grid. And when I see things like that online, I laugh. You know what? I just know that this one was doing a training. Where they told them this is what they do. Now, am I saying that you don't do power interest grid? Yes, you do it. But honestly, I have to tell you honestly, I have never had to sit down as a BA. And this thing I'm showing you, power interest grid, I said I was doing a power interest grid. You know why? Because it's a mental thing. And I'm just trying to show you what happens in that mental. As you work with these stakeholders, you begin to understand where they fit in terms of the power that they wield and the interest that they have on that project. You begin to know that, this project that you're working on in this finance department, you need to make sure that you're talking to the finance head HOD, right? Because he's very interested in that project. Why? Because the modus operandi of his work will change. So he may not have enough power to stop the project or not stop the project because there are organs on the top that can stop the project. But he is very interested in this thing because it will affect the way he works. So you need to keep him informed. You need to keep him informed. Or you may even need to collect certain information that can help you do your work well to help them because you are building for him. You are building for them. It's like building for a customer. You have to make sure that you are keeping that customer satisfied. So there's a lot of things that goes in here. I'm just trying to help you understand that when I say power interest grid, I don't mean that it is something physical you're going to write somewhere. It's a mental note. Over time, you know that, this developer is my guy. I need to be able to keep, because if there's anything that comes up, I can reach out to him. All this is analysis. For example, you have about 1,000 people on your contact list on your phone, right? If you hold your phone now, on your phone, you have so many people on your phone. Question: how many of those people do you call every day? How many do you call once in a week? How many do you call once in a year? But they are contacts, right? It's because you have analyzed those contacts. It's called contact analysis. Take those contacts to be your stakeholder. You just analyze. But there is somebody that may call you. If you see their call, they may not call you all the time, but if you see their call, maybe it's your imam from your mosque, or your pastor that doesn't, you don't see him, maybe it's your regional pastor, you don't see him all the time, and he just calls you out of the blue. You'll be like, he may not be calling you all the time, but you know that this one is very important. So it's the same mentality we're talking about here that you take into the workplace. It's not different, guys. I'm telling you the fact. It's not different from the workplace. You just know the people that fit into what category, and it's a mental thing. Are you understanding me? See, all these things you're asking me, how is this BA? It's BA because you work with people. So you need to learn how to put people in the bracket where they fit. And more so, these other things are going to help you. For example, RACI. Now, RACI is both a mental thing and a thing that you put on paper. RACI is both a mental thing and a thing that you put on paper. But this is one of the overlaps. Please listen. It's one of the overlaps of the job of a BA and a of a BA and a project manager. Remember, I told you that project manager manages people, but I have seen project managers do this more often than a BA. In fact, in my 10 years of being a BA, I never did a RACI because the RACI is here in my head. It was the project manager that was busy writing RACI up and down. So what is RACI? RACI tells you who is responsible for something, who is accountable for something, who should be consulted for something, and who should be informed for something. These are some of the ways that some of the buckets you use in analyzing stakeholders. Like who is responsible, who is doing that task, who is assigned to the task, who is accountable will tell you, okay, who is the decision authority here? You see, whose head is going to roll? Like, for example, when you start your project, I take two people to be accountable. I take a lady and a guy. And if you people don't give me your project brief weekly, I will hold those two people responsible. Yeah, that's what I do. I will hold them. I hold them accountable, rather. You see? I say, oh, Feikemi and God first. You guys are the project, coordinators here. I will hold you responsible if I don't see you people present on Tuesdays. So I need to make sure that your team meets to get the work done. Simple. So that's what we mean by accountable. Now, consulted, anybody can be consulted on a project. They're saying, why? Why can anybody? Because the people that came on the project, they have an expertise, right? Like you are a BA, you can be consulted on BA matters. Somebody who is in marketing can be consulted on marketing matters. Somebody who is a Salesforce implementation person can be consulted on Salesforce, right? So anybody can be consulted. If you're a stakeholder already identified, you can be consulted on the matter on which you know the most about. And this is how I have survived as somebody who is not technical. Why? Because I ask the developers the technical things I don't know. Yes, because if I'm in a meeting and I hear one, two things that I did not understand and it was technical, what I just do is I'll call a developer and I'll say, you people mentioned middleware. Baba, what is middleware? How does that fit into this project? What does it do? And then they tell me what it is. And over time, because of the interactions and consultation, listen, a BA comes asking questions. That is what defines you as a BA. And I even tell my students, when you go on an interview and you did not understand the question, make sure you ask question. Because you asking question, you are already showing them you're a BA. Ask the question that, oh, did you mean this? Is this what your question? Because you are beginning to show them the kind of BA that you are. I'm not saying go and ask, a question that makes you look like a fool. No. I'm saying do not be afraid to ask for clarification, because the very fact you ask for clarification means that you are doing your job as a BA. You're already showing them the BA, the BA-ness. If there's anything like that, you're already showing them the BA-ness right from the interview. And that's why we encourage you to be inquisitive. As part of the competencies of a BA, you begin to see that inquisitiveness is one of those things. Now, informed. Who needs to be informed? Of course, anybody whose work depends on it needs to be informed about the changes that will occur. And you can have something like this that shows, who is responsible, who is accountable, who is consulted. Of course, the project manager typically handles these things, okay? Now, once you've understood this, you know the people involved, you know, and you've analyzed who they are, you now know how to engage them. You know the people you can say, on Friday, you can just say, oh, let's go and have lunch together. You know those people. I do that a lot. Let's go and have lunch together. And in the lunch, you're talking some of the things that you need on that project. Because you've been able to analyze them, the level of relationship and all of that. There are people you meet every day on the job. Oh, those are the type of people you can sit down, have. And there are some people that you don't meet every day on the job. It's not easy for you to say, hey, let's meet in a cafe. Because when you say let's meet in a cafe, it sounds to them, they're like, where did that come from? Where did this meet in a cafe come from? They may even report it to your boss like, the heck is meet in a cafe? Do you understand? So because of the analysis and there are some people you can call, there are some people you can meet every day. There are some people you say, oh boy, you meet them in coffee station. And you see, because you've been able to analyze them, you know who they are, You know their interests, you know their power, you know their contributions to the project. So you now know how to exchange information with them. You know how to communicate with them. You know how to engage them. These are the three levels. If you master these three levels of knowing who you're working with, understanding who they are, listen, your engagement will not be a problem. You will know how to then manage them effectively. Those are the three major elements of stakeholder engagement. Quickly, let's do this. What channels of communication do you think exist for stakeholder interaction and communication? Quickly, what channels do you think exist? What channels do you think exist? What channels do you use normally? Emails, thank you. Emails. Emails, what else? What else for communication? Slack. Face to face, thank you. Face to face. Face to face, yeah. Face to face. You do face to face, you do Slack, you do Teams, you do Discord, depending on what the organization uses, right? Yeah. You do Discord, you do Slack, you do all of these things. Even Zoom. We're on Zoom right now. You see? You do all of these things, right? Okay, so I'm going to take a pause quickly. Now, that pause will be a 5-minute pause for us to ask questions, right? So that nobody's engaged mentally. So just take a pause because this is the last lap for today's class. Remember, this cohort is just once a week. So it's typically a stretch of, 3.5 plus hours. Okay, we've spent almost 3 hours on the call. It's a light class today. So just going to give you some time to cool off. All right. So while we're doing that, any questions? Any questions? I'm just going to chill for 5 minutes before I go into something else. Just 5 minutes. And the last lap is going to take us another 20 minutes. What's the installment payment plan for those in Nigeria? Please, can you reach out to us on WhatsApp? And then we'll be able to talk about that. 4373, because I can't start giving you exchange stuff right now. So that person, Adams, can you please reach out to us on WhatsApp on that number? Thank you. So Adams, just reach out to us on WhatsApp on that number. Any questions whatsoever? You can just walk, and we're not doing anything yet. You can walk and quickly go and take a water. You can go and take water. If you need water, you can go and get a cup of coffee. But please don't go and begin to turn apple. Don't go and turn gari and egusi soup. You will sleep. I can assure you that. Just get water, okay? Get water like myself, and um, get ready for the last lap for today's class, which is the competencies of a BA. Trust me, this one is very straightforward, and we can then bring an end to the classes. In 15, 20 minutes, we'll be done. Remember, to make payments, you can go on the we can go on here. Go on here. On the website. You can go on the website. Come in here on the website, and you can make a payment. Okay. You come in here, enroll, you click on any of these, whether Canada, US, if it's Europe, it's going to default to your European, whatever, if you're in Europe. So you click on that. Remember, you can put in Saturday if you're paying the day of the week you're making a payment between now and next week. Just put it in there and then apply the code, and then you get your discount. Now, especially for those of you in Canada, you can spread it over 18 months if you want, but of course you're going to uh, um, of course you're going to get some interest there. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, we are going to jump in very soon into the competencies of a BA. All right. Somebody is saying, kindly give us real life experiences where you made a mistake in communication with a stakeholder and what you should have done instead. Yeah, Ruth, you want to say something? You want to ask a question? I'm unmuting you, Ruth. Do you want to say something? I see your hand is up. I'm unmuting you so that
Can we get can we get recording for this section?
yes, this session will be recorded and you have access to all our sessions are recorded. You will have
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the job well done. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's talk about Chikube's question about, talking. I can give you a couple of scenarios. Let me tell you about this particular scenario. It may not necessarily fall into that category, but there are several other, scenarios I can tell you about when it comes to communication with stakeholders. You have to be careful, especially with BAs, you have to show what is called empathy, okay, when it comes to communication. I'll give you an example. So there was this time I was working with, so I was the middleman. I was working with, we were responsible for building this work. In fact, let me tell you, it's a huge company. It's TELUS. For those of you in Canada, you know TELUS, huge, big company. So I was working as the BA for my consulting because I work with the consulting. So I was working with the consulting and I was the consulting BA for the development. There was another uh, set of agency. There's another agency that was responsible for design. But I have to be the one reaching out to them and reaching out to my own people. Remember, internal stakeholder are the people in your organization. So the people in my organization were the developers. The people outside my organization was the product owner from TELUS and the designers from this other group. But here's the thing. We were given a certain period of time to build the design that they were giving us. So let me give you an example. We were given like 3 months. So it means that when the design comes from there, it has to come through me. I have to look at it, understand what is happening there, and then I can relate it to my developers. Are you getting the point? So I am between them. I'm interfacing with the product owner from TELUS. I'm interfacing with this guy, and I'm interfacing with the developers. But here was the thing. When we moved to a particular section of that project, fantastic guys, they built a design. Oh, this design is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing design. But here's the thing. When I took it to my developers said it's going to take 6 months to build. Even with their expertise, it will take 6 months because of the way that they did it. Now, how do I go back to people that spent almost 3 weeks trying to build a design and tell them that all they did is rubbish? Sorry, all they did, we can't implement it. They have to do it again. How? How will I be able to go back and tell them without hurting their feelings? So these are the kind of things where you need to be very strategic about your communication. You see? So what I did first was to reach out to the product owner that ties us both. And then I reach out to him and I tell them, see, this is the problem you're having. This is the timeline. This is what I got. And this is what is possible. He said, no, we have to find a way around it. I said, okay, can you give me some time? Let me go back, find a way around it, and I'll reach out to you. And then we'll find a way to talk to these people because I don't want issues. So I went back. Thank God I know how to do wireframe. Okay? Like I'm going to teach you how to do wireframes. So I wireframed what I think is possible. And I used some of the elements that they used so that it does not look like a total rework. So that is why I was now taking them into consideration because I didn't want them to do something totally different from what they've spent 3 weeks to do. But I wanted what they've done to incorporate, I wanted to incorporate what they've done. But this time around, give the same value, but make it less complex for us to build within the time frame. So I tried to readjust it. And then once I got what I needed, I took it to the product owner, talked to him, tell him this is it. I first presented it to him to be because he's the main person I need to please. You see, he's the one in charge and he has the one that has the power. And that's where you begin to understand where analysis comes into play. He was the one who has the power. These guys, if they get annoyed, at the end of the day, they will still talk to the product owner, the person that employed us both, right? So I spoke with him and I walked him through everything and he loved it. That was all. The next thing was, how then do we pass across this information? Because we were already doing a very critical work where if I now dampen their morale, it can bring a little, coarseness in the relationship. So I told him, listen, this is what I'm going to do. These people fly from Vancouver every end of the month to Toronto to have a corporate meeting with us. I will wait till the end of the month, let them fly in. Once they fly in, we will now present it. He said, oh, that's fantastic. And that was what we did. And guess what? They loved it. They loved the fact that we incorporated that design. You see? And then we went for dinner afterwards. You see? So you need to be able to learn how to communicate with stakeholders in issues like this. Because there's one little thing I would have done that could, damage the relationship. Listen, years after, the boss in that organization reached out to me to come and take the position of a producer. What do they mean by producer? It's like a program manager in their company. So imagine that I did not handle that situation properly. I did not apply for the role. He reached out to me and said, hey, Michael, and we had a chat and all of that. And he remembered what happened at that time and then gave me the role of a senior producer in that company. So you need to understand where that... Okay, so let's move on. Competencies of a BA. All right, competencies of a BA. I'm going to play a video for you. Please listen carefully to this video, okay? And then we're going to go from here.
Kia ora, I'm Gemma. I'm a business analyst and I work for Red Vespa in Wellington. Business analysts solve problems. We help organisations to change up their people and culture or their business processes. People deal with stuff. They work around problems that they shouldn't have to. So the job of a business analyst is to make other people's lives easier. We help to get to the basics of what the business actually needs to work in the most effective way. It's not about having the answers readily available. It's about working with others to get that solution together. Quite a lot of big businesses have BAs. Government has a lot of BAs in it. I work for a consultancy. We often go into clients. You really get to see how different companies work. So every time I go into a new project, it's like the first day of a new job. You've got to just throw yourself in, admit that you don't know everything. And actually, part of that is admitting that the people around you know a lot more. And pulling on those knowledgeable people is a really good way to get involved. Having someone show you through what they do really highlights to them where things could be more user-friendly for them. Is often a really good time to ask, why are you doing it that way? Why? It's that toddler kind of mindset of being so inquisitive. It might be that they've never thought about it. It's just the way that it's always been done. Actually, that is something that we could make more efficient or more effective. To ask what they do and how it works for them often gets you to the point where you can see a lot of where the problems lie. Building relationships is a really important part of my job. Listening to people and really getting engaged in what's going on for them. It just makes it so much easier to have those conversations that are often quite difficult because it's about changing the way someone works and changing someone else's outlook on whether there's a problem. After a while, the awkwardness kind of disappears. So business analysts are often the translators between the customer and the developer of the solution. So that could be talking to customers, and that might be the people doing the job or the end customer of an organization, to understand exactly what they need, and then working with the developer of the solution to understand how we can make something work to solve those problems. Most BAs work as contractors, which means that they are self-employed and they go into different clients for periods of time and then they have to find their next job. I work for a consultancy and they're responsible for finding me client projects. We get the opportunity to see so much different stuff as consultants. As a BA within a company, you're often there for a whole project and you get to see it from start to finish. But as a contractor or a consultant BA, you often come in for a small part of it. do the piece of work that needs to get done, and then hand it off to another team without seeing the whole thing through. I love variety. I thrive on it. I love being able to pick something up and make it better and then move on to the next thing. There's loads of different types of business analyst. It's really about finding what you love and letting that take you into the niche that works for you. Some of the skills you need to be a good BA is to be inquisitive and to always be asking questions. Being personable and getting on with everyone is a really kind of useful trait. Changing who you're working with and changing where you're working can often get quite uncomfortable, and you have to be happy to deal with that. You are always working in change, and you're changing how other people work, and that's uncomfortable for people. So you have to be happy to manage other people's emotions as well as your own in a variety of situations. To know when enough's enough and when a solution is good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work to solve the problem you're trying to solve. Most BAs kind of organically become BAs. So it's not so much specifically about the study that you do, more about your interest and your engagement and how inquisitive you are. I have a diploma, which I got back in the UK, and it kind of gave me the toolkit, and then there's loads of sort of specific business analysis qualifications that you can do, but they're more likely to be done on the job than before you start. I didn't know what a BA was when I took the job, and I think it's one of those things that's really hard to explain because it's so varied. The context of solving those problems and being really engaged and inquisitive in whatever you're trying to resolve is the most key thing, but the way you do that could be so different. If you're interested in the world around you and interested in making it better, I think it's a really cool role where you can make your own path. Being a business analyst gives me the opportunity to help other people to have an easier life, and I can't see anything that's more important than that.
Okay, great. All right, that sums it up for the competencies of a BA. However, there's still a lot that I need to talk on. We will talk on that in the next class. Now, competency means the ability to do something successfully or efficiently. Now, I've been able to break that down into 8 parts, from building relationships to leadership skills to facilitation to communication, problem solving, technical skills. Now, you would think technical means being techie. No, technical means something else. And I'm going to tell you what that is next week. So analytical skills and the rest. But before we go, you heard that lady. What stood out for you? What did you take from that conversation? I need 5 people to tell me, and this is where we're going to end the conversation for today. And then next week, we're going to take it up from where we stopped and then move and begin to go deeper. Remember, the minimum that we need to start a cohort is just 7 people, and the maximum we can ever have in our cohort is maximum of 20 people. Once we have 7 people, we're good to go. All right, so I need 5 people. You heard us say certain things, right? What did you hear? What stood out for you? What stood out for you? I can unmute you if you want to say something, but I see people putting stuff in the chat, inquisitiveness, asking questions, being a good BA happens organically, passion for her job from start to finish. Okay. All right. What else did you hear? What else did you hear? She said that quite a lot. I love this video because she touches on everything. Every question that you probably would have asked me, she touches on everything. High emotional intelligence, because you're dealing with how people, work, right? You're changing how people work. So there has to be a whole lot of, like the story I just told you. That's emotional intelligence, right? Changing manpower to get results, group work, okay? How many of you heard when she said, you have to come with the mindset of a toddler? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Because most of you think you need to know everything about the project before you start the project, but it's the reverse. I have worked on a health project, diabetes project, contact lens project. I can't begin to tell you the different fields. I showed you some of I've worked with the bank, wealth management, all sorts. And most of these places, I didn't even know anything about it before I joined. Willingness to learn. How many of you heard when she talked about certification? How many of you heard what she said about certification? We're going to end it here today. How many of you heard what she said about certifications? How many of you heard that? What she said about certifications? You did. What did she say? What did she say about certifications? How many of you heard what she said about certifications? She said they are most likely to be done on the job than before the job. And it's true. Listen, you didn't hear it from me. If it was me, you say, I'm just trying to. She said they are more likely to be gotten on the job than before the job. But you see, we've been, there's a lot that people need to learn to do on their own. They need to learn to go out and get information by themselves. Don't just sit and let people spoon feed you. Even my students, I tell them, don't sit down and listen to everything that I say and take everything. Go and research and find out if what I told you is true. If you find any contrary information, bring it back to me and ask me questions and say, why did you say it this way? Why did you say it that way? I saw it this way online. And then I can explain to you. Remember, not everybody who is posting online or saying something online actually has the right to post those things online. Sorry, they have the right to post it, but they're not authority enough to post those things. You see? So even me, I'm still subject to questioning. So question the things I tell you. All right? Not to talk of somebody who is just randomly telling you things they didn't research, they didn't check up on these things, and they just throwing information at you. All right? Someone here said to be the driving force behind the success of projects. Yeah. So she said a lot of things about relationships, um, coming in as somebody who doesn't know so that you can ask questions. You come in with the mind of a toddler. She talks about the different types of business analysts. You can be a consultant, or you can be working in a firm or a company. With consultants, they work from one project to another. Like myself, I've been in consulting for more than 10 years. And that's why I have that level of experience, because I've worked with banks, I've worked with agriculture, I've worked with real estate, just name the different places I've worked with. I've worked on projects, a whole lot of these projects, right? And that is what consultants do. So if you work with an agency, you can have that kind of experience. Otherwise, you work with, just normal companies, RBC, Barclays, Tata, any of these companies, and they'll be ready to take you in. Like again, it's almost 3:45, and that should be the close time. Any questions? We are running it off for today. We've taken enough. Next week, we're going to continue by God's grace. Okay, next week. Remember, if you're making a payment today, you get 20%. If you're making a payment tomorrow, you get 18%. If you're getting them on Monday, you get 15%. And the day of the week is actually your, let me show you that quickly. So you can see that the day of the week is your discount code. So ensure to go on the website, okay, and then click on the link, put in the discount code for the day that you're making the payment. Making the payment today, then you get a 20%. So the discount code and you can take a screenshot of these. Saturday is 20%, which is today, if you're making a payment today. Sunday, if you're making a payment tomorrow. Monday, if you're making a payment on Monday. You've got the whole of 7 days for you to make a payment, and then you can come into the class next week. All right. Any other questions? I saw a hand up. There was a hand up, and then the hand ran away. There was a hand up before we go, but there was a hand up. I saw a hand up. Okay. You don't have a question anymore? Okay. Yeah. What's the question?
Thank you very much, Sir Michael, for this session. I'm totally overwhelmed, and I've been motivated, right, to take the next step. So thank you once again for the free session, and thank you for the other day for the transferable is it skill?
Mapping.
How did you put mapping? Yeah, I know I came in a bit late, but from what I got from that short session, I was able to, apply it into my previous experience. I was able to see that I actually have the BA experience. So thank you so much for that. I know I asked the question I asked earlier in the chat, and I think I asked it the other day, and I don't know if I should call as regards that. Well, I know I mentioned that I would like to start with the first one, which is the platinum. But if I want to upgrade to the platinum plus, is there a chance for me to do that?
Yeah, there's a
Maybe.
way. There's a way to do that, but it's definitely not going to be the difference, right? It's not going to be the difference.
Yeah, I know you
But
mentioned that the other
yeah,
day.
but there's definitely a way to do that. Yeah,
Okay, all right.
we do not talk too much about that because it's a feedback we got from people from last year. So we're just trying to
Okay,
work on that feedback, right? So we always
okay.
listen to feedback from the students and try to, like someone said, we would like that you can apply to jobs for us, 150. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll do that. Oh, we want that we can sit weekly with alumni and okay, we'll do that. Okay, we want that we can. So we always listen to the feedback that you guys have. I mean, because nobody's perfect. We want to get better. We want to serve you better. We want to keep having the 5-star reviews. So we listen to the feedback that you have. And when you go through the training, we are always, welcoming of the ideas that you guys bring to the table because the ideas you give us is what we use in getting better. You see? And that's how it works. So yes,
So thank you very much for that.
you can.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we sign off tonight or today? All right. Okay, so if there are no further questions, this is where we end it for today, and the next class will be next Saturday for those of you who have, you know, decided to come aboard. Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now. If there are any questions, feel free to reach out to us on WhatsApp. Bye.